Here we are in Weipa. It's not the best looking day, it's nice and overcast and a bit breezy, but we're just down the beach here starting this video. For the keen eye, you'll notice we've cleaned the car, which is sort of something new. Give it a couple of days, it'll be filthy again. But today we've got a good one. It's a bit of a different one. We're doing the Weipa mine and town tour, which is, I don't really know what to expect. There's good reviews, good ratings. Everyone's saying it's bloody excellent. So I'm a bit excited for that. It's $45 per person, enclosed shoes, and they do 2 tours a day. I think one first thing in the morning and one now, I think 2 o'clock, which we're doing. So yeah, I guess we'll crack into it. Don't know what to expect, but I'm excited. So we don't really know what we're expecting here with this sort of mine too. It's Rio Tinto mine, so what are you expecting?
To find out what they mine, because I haven't even lived here now for 7 weeks and I don't even know what they mine.
Yeah.
There's a bus right there.
Yeah, here comes the bus, so.
And maybe some walking because they've asked us for enclosed footwear.
Yeah, so hopefully we do a bit of walking around the mine and.
It's very windy though, so good luck with hearing us, but we'll do our best.
We'll see what we can do, but there's the bus, our sweet little chariot. So let's get in there, pay for it, and get on there. I'm excited.
Yeah, something different.
Yeah. On another note, guys, stickers still available. They're we've had great support with that. Cheers for everything. But check out our little store. Link is below. $45 each gets you one of these little pass tours and gets us on this. And do you reckon they'll have the aircon on full?
I hope not, because I'm just right.
It seems like every tour bus we get on, they love the aircon on full. So we'll see how we go on this one, but it's a sort of little joke we've got running that every bus we get on, they love the aircon.
The significance of Batavia Down Station is it was founded in 1882 by a fellow by the name of James Burke. Now in 1882, James Burke was the very first European ever to settle here in this part of the world. James Burke pioneered the cattle farming industry here on Cape York, and in 1882 founded Batavia Down Station. The only other activity that we had here in this part of the world in the 1800s was actually here off our coast on the left hand side. That's because we had a very active beach de mer and pooling industry here in the 1800s. Now guys, beach de mer, that's those sea cucumbers. And this beach de mer and pooling industry was run by Japanese and Indonesian fishermen. Now guys, these Japanese and Indonesian fishermen were low on labor, so they started to recruit the 12 Aboriginal tribes up and down the coast here into their fishery. Now guys, I use the word recruit, but it wasn't recruiting at all as we know it these days. These Aboriginals suffered some severe hardships working under these Japanese and Indonesian fishermen, and that gave way to our second European settling here. That was when in 1898 we had a Presbyterian missionary by the name of Reverend Edwin Brown come to the area here. Now Reverend Brown formed a Presbyterian mission station just a little bit south of us at the junction of Spring Creek and the Embley Rivers. Now the main purpose of this Presbyterian mission station was firstly to curb the recruitment of the Aboriginal people into this beach de mer and pooling industry, and then secondly, of course, to consolidate the tribes and to convert them to Christianity. But that changed dramatically here around Weipa in 1955. Because in 1955, we had a geologist by the name of Henry Evans come to the area here. Now Henry Evans was exploring Cape York looking for oil. He, however, was unsuccessful finding any oil, but Henry Evans did here in the Weipa area come around across these red cliffs. These red cliffs have got a bunch of pebbles in them. These pebbles are known as piezolites. Henry took a sample of these piezolites and sent it down to Melbourne for analysing, and word came straight back from Melbourne that Henry, this is high-grade bauxite, and serious further investigation is needed into this discovery. Guys, straight after that, Comelco was formed. Now Comelco stands for the Commonwealth Aluminium Corporation. They were formed in 1956 and they were the very first miners and leaseholders up here. But you got to remember, Rio Tinto was always a parent company of Comelco. Then in 2001, Rio Tinto came up to Weipa, phased out Comelco and re-signed all the leases under the banner Rio Tinto. Now guys, what we're mining here on Weipa is of course bauxite. And bauxite is the raw material that aluminium gets refined out of. Now guys, a lot of people struggle to believe it, but trust me, it is true, and that is that aluminium is a very, very, very common element. In fact, aluminium is so common, it is the third most common element on this planet. The most common element on Earth is oxygen. The second most common element on Earth is silica. And then guys, the third most common element on this planet is in fact aluminium. It is an abundant material, but what makes a bauxite or aluminium mine viable is the quality and quantity of your bauxite deposit. Now what we do know is here in Weipa we've got the world's second largest bauxite deposit, with the world's largest bauxite deposit actually being in Equatorial Guinea in Africa. Now that deposit in Equatorial Guinea in Africa is not as extensively mined as our deposit here in Weipa, making this the world's largest producing bauxite mine on the world's second largest bauxite deposit. Now guys, we haven't even left the caravan park yet, and I've said bauxite multiple times. You must be starting to wonder what this stuff looks like. Well, let me find a suitable place to park up and I'll give you guys a very good idea of what bauxite looks like. Now, we simply made our roads out of bauxite. You'll take bauxite, mix it with bitumen and spread it out to make roads out of, and that's why the roads here are red roads. So we sent that sample around. The red pebbles that you see, that's bauxite, the black is bitumen. Box 25, it's an MPA25 concrete, which means it is plenty strong enough. Our curbs, our gutters, our driveways, our foundations, our slabs for our houses, your accommodation at the LV, everything is built out of this stuff here, box 25. The red pebbles is of course bauxite, the grey sand and cement, and that is our concrete here in Weipa. Now guys, we do get a rock here in Weipa. As you can see rocks lying around us here and there, and these rocks are not hard rocks, they are cluster rocks. So they are when these little pebbles or piezolites cluster together to form a rock. Now this is not a special rock, it's just a normal Weipa rock. I've however taken this rock home, I cut it through with my angle grinder and I polished it so that you guys can see what these little pebbles or piezolites look like inside. Then guys, if anybody tell any of you that they are flying in and out of a mine while they are at work, they will of course be staying in a mine camp while they are at work. Now guys, here on our left hand side is Evans Landing SPQ or single person's quarters, and it is a mine camp. Now these mine camps are pretty much standard now all across Australia. They're made out of these long thin buildings. These long thin buildings are portable and they are known as dongas. Each donga has got 4 rooms to it. Each room in turn has got its own single person's bed, writer's desk, bar, fridge, television and air conditioning. Everybody that stays in the dongas is here on our left hand side at the mess. Now guys, this mess is used to be open to the general public. It was $25 for a meal ticket. You could go in there and enjoy a buffet dinner with the mine workers, then take a takeaway out of the buffet for the next day. Now guys, that used to be excellent value for money here in Cape York. You could pretty much take out of there whatever you could carry, but due to the pandemic, they said they're not permitting it this year for tourism. While you're staying in these camps, guys, everything gets done for you. Your meals get prepared, your linen gets washed, your room gets cleaned. You, however, have to do your own personal laundry. You see there's a block there with a bunch of pipes under it? That's a laundry block. Everything gets done for you. You do your own personal laundry, and that is standard all across Australia. Now, this channel of course gets stretched as well, and it gets stretched into the seabed here to a depth of 13 meters at high tide. Now guys, there's a very good reason why you go for 13 meters at high tide, and the first reason is the class of vessel that we load here in Weipa. Now the original vessels that we loaded here in Weipa back in the day were known as your Panamax class vessels. Maximum size of vessel that can go through the Panama Canal, your Panamaxes. The Panama Canal got widened and deepened for the first time. The class of vessel could get upgraded to your post-Panamax, and that's what we're loading here in Weipa today, post-Panamax class vessels. And your target weight of bauxite on a post-Panamax is 90,000 tons. Now guys, when you get 90,000 tons of bauxite on a post-Panamax, their draft or underwater area is 12.5 meters. You do that sum, you realize that there's a half a meter, so about this much, between the hull of the vessel and the seabed as they leave this channel here on our left hand side. Not much clearance at all. But remember that commercial vessels can never touch the seabed. If a commercial vessel even skims the seabed, it is known as the grounding of a vessel. And the grounding of a vessel is a reportable maritime incident. Now, so that we don't have maritime incidents here in the port of Weipa, these vessels get loaded according to tidal charts. So they know exactly how deep this channel is here is going to be on the next low or high tide. If at the end of the wet season we get sediment build-up in this channel here and you don't quite get your 13 meters, they might get 85, 86,000 tons of bauxite on the vessels, but your draft clearance of half a meter will always be maintained. Now you might listen to me and go, well Hardus, why don't they just dredge it out to 20 meters or 16 or 18 and just get on with it? Well guys, the good reason for that is 100% of the vessels that leave this channel turn up towards the north and they lead out through the Torres Straits to get into the international shipping lanes. And the shallowest area in the shipping lanes of the Torres Straits is 13 meters at low tide. Now, you can't dredge the Torres Straits, you know, that's like sweeping in the wind. Very strong currents, high sedimental loads. So what you do is you take your seabed here, you suck it down to the same seabed level as the Torres Straits. If a vessel can leave here, it can go through there. Therefore, you do your Torres Strait draft check right here in the port of Weipa, and that's your reason for 13 meters at high tide. Now guys, this coastline here on our left hand side is also a very significant piece of the Australian coastline as far as the history of our country goes. And a lot of people that come and visit us here in Weipa, or even that live in Weipa, are totally unaware of it. But guys, this stretch of coastline here on our left hand side was in fact the very first piece of the Australian coastline that was ever charted. Now I should just start by saying, of course, there is some unconfirmed reports that the Portuguese and the Chinese made it over to Western Australia prior to 1606, but none of that can really be confirmed. What we however know for a fact is that in 1606, a Dutch sailor, I can turn that off for you. Guys, you too cold back there? You want me to take it down a notch? Yeah, we take it down a notch there. Let me know when it gets too hot and we'll, you know. So, guys, in 1606 we had a Dutch sailor and he was based in Java and he was working for the Dutch East Indian Company. His name was Wilhelm Janszoon. Now guys, from Java, the Dutch East Indian Company sent Janszoon to go down the west coast of Papua New Guinea to go and look for economical opportunities, in particular gold and sandalwood. Now as Janszoon came down the west coast of New Guinea, he ended up jumping the Torres Straits and he bumped into the Australian coastline right here where we are now. Now Janszoon ended up charting the Australian coastline down to Cape Kiawea, just a little bit south of us, and north up as far as the Pennefather River mouth, just a little bit north of us. And guys, this was the very first piece of the Australian coastline that was ever charted. In this little stretch of coast here, Janszoon made 3 landfalls. During these 3 landfalls, he came across the Aboriginal tribes 3 times. 2 of the encounters were peaceful. The 3rd encounter, however, ended up being a scrap. 2 of his sailors got speared, 1 of them fatally. They got back on the divecon, headed back to Java and never returned to this coastline here again. Now Janszoon never realized the significance of the landfalls he made here. He thought he was just in sort of the southwestern parts of New Guinea, bumping into some lower lying islands, so he never marked on his chart where he got off the ship. Janszoon simply described his first landfall in his ship's log as, "I made landfall at a river with bush." Now guys, across the bay here we've got 3 rivers, the Pine, the Wenlock and the Pennefather. All historians believe it was around there somewhere, but it is today at the mouth of the Pine River at a place called Landfall Point that a small plaque got erected, and this plaque simply reads, "Hereabouts was the very first landing of a European ever in Australia, 1606, Wilhelm Janszoon on a ship called the Divecon." That's that.
Thank you.
So guys, that's the exact product there that gets mined here on the lease in Weipa. The round pebbles, those are the piezolites. Now I don't know if pea is piezolite, whether it's Greek or Latin or what, but you think of garden pea, round little ball, pea shingle, round little balls, piezolites, round little balls. Pea must refer to round little ball in some other Latin or Greek or something like that. Right guys, the reason why I brought you over here is here on our left hand side, that there is the location of our second last crocodile attack here on Weipa. So it happened here on the 11th of March 2011, and one of our town locals here, his name was Todd Bradstow. Now Todd was 28 years old, he was new to town, he was a local nonetheless, and Todd came down here to Trunding Creek on our left hand side to do a bit of barramundi fishing one afternoon. Now Todd stood in that gap there on the left hand side, so you've got your paper box, you get your gap, you get your mangroves. He stood in that little gap there doing a bit of barramundi fishing here, when all of a sudden a 3.5 meter saltwater crocodile came out of the water there, grabbed him by his ankles and started dragging him into the creek here. Now guys, Todd, as he got dragged past those roots on the left hand side there, he grabbed onto them and he would not let go. Now luckily for Todd, this crocodile never tried to spin him off. It just shook him from left to right like a dog with a toy. And crocodiles can't swim backwards, so this crocodile was just sort of pedaling. Todd held on and he was screaming for help in all directions. Now guys, just up through the trees there on the left hand side is the Albatross Bay Hotel, and it's got a big beer garden there in the backyard. Now this very same afternoon, 3 guys were sitting in the beer garden there enjoying a quiet beer, and they heard the commotion down here at the creek. But guys, they didn't think too much of it, because the commotion down here by the creek in the late afternoon is not that uncommon. You know, there's a bottle shop up on the corner there, so these guys didn't think too much of it. 15 minutes later, however, they decided, no, you know, we can't ignore those hysterical cries for help. Let's go see what's going on down there. So imagine the sight that greeted this trio when they came down the track here to find Todd wrestling this massive crocodile right here at the bottom of the creek, still screaming for help. Well guys, they didn't waste any time. They ran into the creek and started fighting the crocodile. They gave it a few good kicks, punches and so forth. The crocodile felt so threatened by the attack on it, it let go of Todd and it went up into the deeper part of the creek there on the right hand side. Now guys, Todd got dragged out of the creek, flown down to Cairns for immediate surgery, but he was in a bad way, you know. He had severely dislocated hips, bad knees, chewed up ankles and feet and so forth. But the surgeons down there managed to save both of Todd's legs. And Todd today, some tourists told me the other day, Todd now has a podcast called I Wrestled the Crocodile for 25 minutes. And that's Todd's version of what happened here with him that afternoon. And the crocodile, it of course got euthanized, and the 3 guys that saved Todd's life, guys, they received bravery awards for their efforts in saving Todd's life here this afternoon. But don't think, oh, you know, I'm in Weipa here, I'll be safe from crocodiles. Guys, there's currently about a 2.5 meter crocodile that lives in Trunding Creek here. I see it now and then, particularly early in the morning. You'll see it. It lives up in the deeper part of the forested part of there. You come out here at night with spotlights, you will probably see it. That we're driving down now is called Millionaire's Drive. Now guys, the reason why we call this Millionaire's Drive is all these houses on our right hand side here are owned by Rio Tinto Alcan, and they house the senior management of our mine here in Weipa. So this is where all the bosses live. The bosses live across the road from Rocky Point Beach here on our left hand side, and guys, that is the only waterfront real estate in the town of Weipa. If you take a closer look at Rocky Point Beach on our left hand side, you notice little freshwater creeks that flow out of the cliff. They are being fed by freshwater springs, and this is where our sub-aquifer gets saturated and creates little freshwater springs. This sub-aquifer gets replenished every year by our wet season here in Weipa. Now here in Weipa we get an average of 1.7 meters of rain every year, and all of this rain falls between December and April, giving us 2 distinct seasons. We get mud and we get dust. We don't really have anything else up here.
So far, a really good tour, and old mate's right on the aircon, isn't he?
Up, down, up, down, up, down.
Yeah, he's straight on it, like it's not too cold, and he just knows when to turn it on, so good on him, and he's very informative, which is excellent. I'm hoping I'm not going to run out of room on this little memory card. See how we go? That was sort of the town and, well, the town and not the town, just out of the town that he showed us, and I think the next little part he's going to show us sort of the mining areas, which is pretty cool. Got a nice little break, got a drink, and a, what is it?
Bliss ball.
A bliss ball.
Got like coconut,
Chocolate. It's got a bit of everything. Bit of bliss.
No, cocoa powder.
But yeah, that supports the community.
Seeds.
Chai seeds.
Yeah. I don't know what else, but I need the toilets.
But it supports the community, so this is our little halfway break. What do you reckon so far?
It's good. Very informative, but I'm more looking forward to the mining bit because we've been on a mine.
Yeah, we've done a lot of the mining stuff, which looks a lot so far.
Like everywhere else.
Yeah, like everything that we've done mining wise. But it's pretty cool. So that'll do for this video. This will be just a part 1 and I guess a part 2 sort of series. But Hardus, I mean, I've got to take my hat off to him. Absolutely incredible tour guide. He knows the ins and outs and everything on Weipa. It's blew us both away. But yeah, you got to give him credit for everything on this video because he knows everything really. All we can really do is put the video together and do a little bit of drone flying around. So that's going to do it for this video. That's just the town part. But next video we're going to do the mining section, and we've cut a lot of video out of these 2 videos just because we don't want to sort of give the whole tour away. We do want people to come up here and check out the tour and do the tour because it's a bloody incredible tour. And we'll leave a link below to their Facebook page because it's bloody incredible, their tour. They deserve everything here. They deserve all the credit for these videos. Hats off to Hardus. He's an absolute legend. He just knows the ins and outs of Weipa. And yeah, link will be below. Check him out. If you ever get to Weipa, I highly recommend doing this tour. It's incredible. But we're going to end this video here, and next week's video is going to be the mining section of this tour, and it's going to be an eye-opener, I guess. Completely different, but cheers for watching. Hats off to Hardus, absolute legend. All the credit goes to him, and yeah, cheers for watching. See you on the next one.